Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be exploring Alzheimer's. But, and here's the twist, we're going to be looking at it through the lens of the subconscious mind. We've got these transcripts from three people who were hypnotized and their perceptions of Alzheimer's. Well, they're pretty different from what you'd read in a medical textbook.
It really is fascinating to kind of step outside of those conventional medical definitions and, really explore this disease, Alzheimer's, from these more unconventional perspectives. So what we're going to be uncovering here are not just physiological observations, but, also emotional and even metaphysical insights into this really complex disease.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Right off the bat, the thing that struck me was how each person had this really, really strong first impression of Alzheimer's, like a visceral reaction to it. Subject one described this like creeping shell-like formation, constricting energy.
Wow. Yeah.
They even compared it to being trapped in a soul-crushing job.
That image of a shell is really powerful. It speaks to that sense of isolation, of being cut off from the world around you and losing your autonomy, which, I mean, think about it. It aligns with what we see in the later stages of Alzheimer's, where individuals often withdraw into themselves.
Yeah. And then you've got subject two, who has like a totally different take. They were really focused on those like physical sensations, describing nerve constriction, cell death. They talked about this feeling of the body becoming useless and disconnected, almost like it's giving up.
Hmm. That raises a really intriguing question about the role of the subconscious mind and how the disease progresses. Is there a component of surrender or acceptance on a deeper level that could be influencing this physical deterioration? It's fascinating.
Absolutely. And then we get to subject three.
Yeah.
Now, their initial perception was all about this poisoning and decay. Like they compared it to a strange, unrecognized toxicity just ravaging the body.
Interesting. This whole idea of toxicity is really interesting to me because it points to potential environmental or dietary factors that could be contributing to how Alzheimer's develops. And we know from research, scientific research, that things like exposure to pollutants, poor diet, these can all impact cognitive function.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So even in these like very first impressions, we see these, we see some common threads. This feeling of isolation, the body betraying itself, and just like this overall loss of control over your own life.
Exactly. And, one of the most striking observations that they shared was this idea that individuals with Alzheimer's are experiencing a distorted reality.
Yeah. So subject one, they described it as a way of like shielding yourself
Yeah.
from a world that has just become too aggressive, too overwhelming, almost like creating a buffer to protect themselves from the harshness of reality.
That makes me think about how, we often see Alzheimer's patients retreating into their own world, becoming less engaged with their surroundings. It's like they're creating this smaller, more manageable reality to cope with the cognitive overload.
Yeah. Subject two, they focused on that confusion aspect, this feeling of being disoriented. They talked about needing these like extended periods to adapt after each episode of the disease.
Yeah. That's fascinating because it kind of mirrors what we see clinically with sundowning, where individuals with Alzheimer's, they experience this heightened confusion and agitation in the late afternoon, evening. It's like their internal clock and their perception of time are becoming increasingly disrupted.
And subject three took this idea of distorted reality a step further. They described it as this feeling of detachment, like being transported back in time.
This temporal displacement is really intriguing. Could it be that Alzheimer's, in a way, disrupts our linear perception of time, causing individuals to, kind of drift between the past and the present? It could explain why we see them revisiting those old memories and sometimes struggling to stay grounded in the here and now.
It's wild. Okay, so we've got this distorted reality. But how does Alzheimer's actually impact the mental and emotional states of these individuals? Because all three subjects, they saw a blocking or a shutting down of what they called the mental body.
Now, before we go any further, I think it's important to clarify that, when we say mental body, in this context, we're referring to that aspect of ourselves responsible for thinking, processing information, and forming our perception of the world. It's not a physical structure, but rather, an energetic or subtle aspect of our being.
Gotcha. So subject one, they described this mental shutdown as a gradual process, a desire to disconnect from mental processes altogether.
Yeah.
Like the mind is just exhausted from trying to keep up.
It's almost like a form of mental fatigue, a withdrawal from that effort required to, process information and make sense of the world.
Yeah. Subject two saw the mental body as still present, but struggling to cope with the physical body's deterioration, almost like it's being dragged down by those failing physical systems.
This highlights the interconnectedness of our physical and mental states. When one is compromised, the other inevitably suffers.
Yeah. And subject 3, they described it as a blockage, preventing new information from entering the mental body,
Yeah.
which leads to, that feeling of being stuck in the past that we were talking about earlier.
It's as if the mental body is becoming increasingly isolated, unable to integrate new experiences into its understanding of the world.
So there's a clear impact on the mental side. But what about the emotional aspect? Because they all talked about the emotional body, but it didn't sound like Alzheimer's changes our emotions themselves.
Right. So when these subjects referred to the emotional body, what they were talking about is that part of us that experiences and processes emotions. And what they observed was that Alzheimer's doesn't change the emotions themselves, but rather it disrupts how those emotions are expressed and experienced. Imagine a radio that's losing its signal. The music is still there, but the transmission is becoming garbled.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
So subject 2, they emphasized the panic and the fear that arise from, losing control of your body, your functions, which makes perfect sense.
Absolutely. Imagine the terror of waking up one day and realizing you can't remember familiar faces or find your way home. That loss of control can be incredibly disorienting and frightening.
Absolutely. And then subject 3, they really honed in on that frustration and the rage. That stemmed from this powerlessness.
Yeah.
It's like they're trapped in a body and mind that are no longer obeying their commands.
That is such a crucial point because it speaks to the emotional turmoil that individuals with Alzheimer's, they often experience. Even if they're unable to articulate those feelings clearly, we need to recognize and address this emotional suffering as part of that caregiving process.
Absolutely. So we've got the distorted reality, the impact on those mental and emotional bodies. It's a lot to process. But, what's fascinating is how these hypnotic insights blur the lines between the physical and the metaphysical.
That's where things get really interesting. We start to see this interplay between tangible physical changes in the brain and these more subtle energetic shifts happening within the individual.
So like subject 1, for example. They described a detachment of the energy body from the physical senses, leading to a dulled perception of taste, sound, and smell.
And this could explain why individuals with Alzheimer's often lose interest in food or experience those changes in their sensory perception. It's not just about the physical deterioration of the senses. There might also be an energetic component at play.
Yeah, subject 2, again, they focused on fear, stating that it was like a dominant emotion, like feeding into the metaphysical experience of the disease, almost like fear is creating this feedback loop, amplifying the negative aspects of the illness.
This really underscores the profound impact our emotions can have on our overall well-being, even at an energetic level. We know that, chronic stress and anxiety, they can have detrimental effects on the brain. And these hypnotic insights suggest that fear might actually play a significant role in how Alzheimer's progresses.
Wow. And subject 3, they focused on the breakdown of cellular communication, describing the body's inability to handle that resulting toxicity. Like the cells are overwhelmed and just can't communicate effectively anymore.
This points to a potential link between the physical and energetic aspects of the disease. If the cells are struggling to communicate, it could disrupt the flow of energy throughout the body, contributing to an overall sense of imbalance and decline.
Okay, so we've explored these, initial perceptions, the impact on reality, and the shifts in the mental and emotional bodies. But what about the root causes of Alzheimer's? Like, what do these hypnotized subjects have to say about that?
Well, they identified both internal and external factors that they believe could be contributing to the development of the disease. And what's fascinating is how their observations sometimes align with scientific research, while other times they venture into more speculative territory.
Okay, let's start with those internal factors then. All 3 subjects consistently pointed to emotional and energetic overload as a key contributor. Like our modern world is it's too much for some people to handle.
It's true. Think about that constant bombardment of information, the fast-paced lifestyle, the pressure to succeed. I mean, it's no wonder that some individuals might experience a kind of energetic burnout that could manifest as Alzheimer's.
Right. Subject 1, they specifically describe this internal impulse to cleanse oneself from perceived toxins, both physical and emotional. It's like their system is overwhelmed and just trying to purge itself of anything harmful.
This concept of cleansing is really interesting because it suggests that there might be this subconscious drive to eliminate anything that is perceived as negative or overwhelming. But what if this process, what if it goes into overdrive, leading to the unintended consequence of damaging the very system it's trying to protect?
And subject 3 brought up the fear of death as a potential driver, suggesting that a subconscious dread of mortality could somehow contribute to the onset of Alzheimer's.
It raises this question of how our deepest fears and beliefs might actually influence our physical reality. Could it be that our anxieties, if they're left unchecked, can manifest as physical ailments? That's a fascinating area for further exploration.
Okay, so we've got those internal factors.
Hmm.
What about external influences? Did they mention anything about, diet, environment, things like that?
Oh, absolutely. All three subjects, they talked about the role of diet and toxins, particularly the impact of processed foods, preservatives, and environmental pollutants in accelerating cell deterioration.
It's almost like we're slowly poisoning ourselves with the food we eat and the toxins we're exposed to every day, and our bodies are just struggling to keep up with that detoxification process.
Right. And over time, these toxins, they can accumulate, reaching a tipping point where they overwhelm the body's natural defenses, leading to cellular damage and dysfunction.
And what's interesting is 2 of the subjects also brought up a potential link between military service and Alzheimer's. They mentioned medications containing metals that could accumulate and damage nerves over time.
This is a concerning observation that definitely warrants further investigation. If military personnel are being exposed to substances that could increase their risk of developing Alzheimer's, we need to understand the long-term consequences and find ways to mitigate those risks.
Now, subject 3, they brought up something really intriguing. They described an energetic interference, something like a program that enters through sensory input, particularly visual media.
This is where we kind of venture into more speculative territory, but it raises a very interesting question about the subtler ways we might be influenced by the information we consume. Could it be that certain types of information, particularly those that evoke fear or anxiety, can have a detrimental effect on our energetic well-being?
It's like a virus that infects our minds and disrupts our natural energetic balance. And this disruption over time could manifest as a physical ailment like Alzheimer's.
It's certainly a thought-provoking concept, and it aligns with that growing body of research exploring the impact of media consumption on cognitive function and mental health. We're just beginning to understand the complex ways in which our minds and bodies interact with the information-saturated world around us.
And finally, subject 1 suggested that the increasingly intense and aggressive nature of the external world is simply too much for some individuals to handle, leading to a desire to withdraw and disconnect.
This highlights the importance of creating safe and supportive environments for individuals who are sensitive to those external stimuli. If we're constantly bombarded with negativity and chaos, it's no wonder that some people would seek refuge in their inner world, even if it means disconnecting from reality altogether.
It's like they're trying to shield themselves from an onslaught of information and sensory overload that their systems simply can't process.
Exactly. And that overwhelm can lead to a sense of exhaustion and depletion, making individuals more susceptible to illnesses like Alzheimer's.
Okay, so we've covered these potential internal and external causes. What about the experience of sleep? Did these hypnotic sessions reveal anything about how individuals with Alzheimer's, how they sleep differently?
They did. And it's interesting because sleep it's so crucial for our physical and mental well-being. Any disruption in this area can have a significant impact on our overall health.
Subject 2 described the sleep of individuals with Alzheimer's as a disconnection, followed by a difficult awakening. It's like you're being pulled back into a reality that no longer feels familiar or safe, causing a jolt to their system every time they wake up.
This aligns with the sleep disturbances that are often observed in Alzheimer's patients. They may experience fragmented sleep, frequent awakenings, and difficulty falling back asleep. And this disrupted sleep cycle could contribute to that heightened confusion and agitation often observed in the evening hours.
And subject 3 noted a lack of restorative quality in their sleep, an inability to delve into the depths of the subconscious. It's as if they're stuck in this shallow sleep state, unable to fully recharge their batteries.
This is a crucial point because it suggests that individuals with Alzheimer's might be missing out on the essential restorative functions of sleep. They're not accessing those deeper levels of consciousness where healing and regeneration occur.
So we've explored a lot of ground here, from those initial perceptions of Alzheimer's to the potential causes and the experience of living with the disease. But what about solutions? What do these hypnotized subjects have to say about treatment and prevention?
Well, this is where we have to tread carefully because we're dealing with subjective experiences under hypnosis, not, scientifically validated medical advice. But their insights, they can still offer valuable perspectives on potential avenues for intervention.
So subjects 1 and 2 express skepticism about conventional treatments, claiming that no cure exists.
This skepticism reflects a common frustration with the limited effectiveness of current treatments for Alzheimer's. While medications can help to manage symptoms, they don't address those underlying causes of the disease, and this leaves many feeling frustrated and disillusioned with the conventional medical approach.
And subject 3, they emphasize detoxifying the body and addressing psychological factors as key components of treatment.
This highlights the importance of a holistic approach to Alzheimer's care, considering not just the physical symptoms, but also the emotional and psychological well-being of the individual.
And all 3 subjects advocated for dietary changes to reduce toxins and promote natural detoxification. They stress the importance of minimizing processed foods, artificial ingredients, and environmental pollutants.
This aligns with a growing body of research suggesting that a healthy diet rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds can actually help protect against cognitive decline and reduce the risk of developing Alzheimer's.
It's like giving your body the tools it needs to cleanse and repair itself from the inside out.
Exactly. And that internal cleansing can have a ripple effect, improving overall health and well-being.
Subject 2 highlighted the importance of physical activity, suggesting that movement is essential for preventing stagnation and maintaining vitality.
This makes perfect sense considering the benefits of exercise for both physical and cognitive health. Regular physical activity, it can improve blood flow to the brain, stimulate the growth of new brain cells, and reduce inflammation throughout the body.
And subject 1 stressed the importance of focusing on internal processes and minimizing exposure to overwhelming external stimuli. They advocated for practices like mindfulness and meditation to cultivate inner peace and reduce stress.
This highlights the crucial role of stress management in maintaining cognitive health. Chronic stress can have a detrimental effect on the brain, leading to inflammation, cell damage, and impaired cognitive function.
It's like creating a sanctuary within yourself, a space where you can escape the chaos of the external world and recharge your batteries.
Precisely. And that inner sanctuary can provide a foundation of resilience and strength, helping you navigate the challenges of life with greater ease and grace.
Wow, we've covered so much ground already. It's incredible how much these hypnotic sessions have revealed about Alzheimer's, from those initial perceptions to the potential causes and the impact on the mind, body, and spirit.
I know, right? And we're just getting started. There's so much more to unpack in these transcripts. In the next part of this deep dive, we'll explore the experience of living with Alzheimer's, the potential role of spirituality, and even the possibility of reversing the disease.
It's definitely a conversation you won't want to miss, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back after a short break.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before the break, we were unpacking those potential causes of Alzheimer's, and I gotta say that idea of energetic interference from subject 3, it really stuck with me. It's a bit out there, I know, but it makes you think about all those subtle ways we might be affected by the world around us.
It does, doesn't it? It's like this potent reminder that we're not just, physical beings.
Yeah.
We've got these energetic and emotional layers that are constantly interacting with our environment.
Yeah, and speaking of subtle influences, another theme that came up in all 3 of the hypnotic sessions was this focus on detoxification. And it wasn't just about, avoiding processed foods or pollutants, although, they mentioned those too, but it seemed like they were pointing to a deeper kind of cleansing, addressing emotional and energetic toxins as well. Yeah. Subject 1, they talked about this internal impulse to purify oneself. Like there's this innate drive to clear out anything that's perceived as harmful and burdensome. But what if, in some cases, that process goes awry? What if, in trying to cleanse itself, the body actually ends up, creating more damage?
That's a really interesting point. It connects back to what subject 3 said about the body just being unable to handle the toxicity, almost like it's overloaded and struggling to keep up. It's like our systems are being bombarded on multiple levels: physical, emotional, energetic, and sometimes they just can't cope.
Exactly. So we've touched on those potential causes, but what about the actual experience of living with Alzheimer's? These hypnotic sessions, they offer some really poignant insights into that as well. Remember how subject 1 described that distorted reality that some individuals experience as a form of self-protection? Well, they went on to explain that this disconnection, it can also be a way of navigating a world that's become increasingly confusing and frightening.
Like they're retreating into themselves, creating a smaller, more manageable world within their own minds, a way to cope with the cognitive overload and the fear that comes with losing control.
Yes, and while that retreat is understandable, it can unfortunately lead to further isolation and disconnection, which are, already hallmarks of the disease. It's a delicate balance
Okay.
between protecting oneself and staying engaged with the world.
Subject 2, they really brought home the terror of losing control. That feeling of being trapped in a body that's no longer responding the way it used to.
Yeah.
They talked about the panic and the fear that arise when you can't rely on your own mind and body to function properly.
Yeah, imagine waking up one day and not recognizing the faces of your loved ones, or being unable to find your way home. I mean, it's a deeply disorienting and frightening experience, and it underscores the importance of providing support and a sense of security for those living with Alzheimer's.
Absolutely. And subject 3, they didn't shy away from those raw emotions that come with this loss of control. They described the frustration and the rage that stem from this powerlessness. That feeling of being imprisoned within your own mind.
Yeah, that's such a crucial point. We need to remember that individuals with Alzheimer's are still experiencing a full range of emotions, even if they're not always able to express them in ways that we understand. And those emotions, especially the negative ones, like anger and frustration, they can be incredibly intense
Yeah.
and challenging to manage, both for the individual and their caregivers.
It's a reminder that Alzheimer's doesn't just affect the individual. It profoundly impacts their loved ones as well.
Yeah.
Those who witness their decline and struggle to provide, care and support.
Absolutely. Caregiving for someone with Alzheimer's can be incredibly demanding and emotionally draining. It's a journey filled with love and loss, and a constant process of adaptation as the disease progresses.
Speaking of adaptations, subject 2 had an interesting perspective on the role of sleep in Alzheimer's. They described it as a period of disconnection from the body, followed by a difficult and often disorienting reentry into waking life.
Yeah, they talked about this jarring transition between sleep and wakefulness. It's as if they're being, abruptly pulled back into a reality that no longer feels familiar or safe, causing a kind of shock to their system.
And this could help explain why we see, that heightened confusion and agitation in the evening hours with sundowning, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It's like their internal clock and their sense of reality are constantly being disrupted.
Right. And then subject 3 added another layer to this, describing the sleep of those with Alzheimer's as lacking in restorative quality. They said there's this inability to truly delve into the depths of the subconscious, that it's a shallow sleep without those deep rejuvenating qualities that we need to process emotions, consolidate memories, and recharge our energy.
So not only are they experiencing these disrupted sleep patterns, but they're also missing out on the crucial restorative benefits of deep sleep. It's like a double whammy.
Exactly. And this lack of deep sleep can further exacerbate, cognitive decline and fuel a vicious cycle of worsening symptoms. It underscores the importance of addressing sleep disturbances as a key component of managing Alzheimer's.
Okay, so we've talked about potential causes and the experience of living with Alzheimer's.
Right.
What about solutions? Where do we go from here? Do these hypnotic sessions offer any insights into potential treatments or prevention strategies?
Well, they did touch on some interesting approaches, although it's important to remember that these are subjective experiences under hypnosis, not scientifically validated medical advice, but their perspectives can still provide valuable, food for thought.
So subjects 1 and 2, they expressed skepticism about conventional treatments, claiming that no cure exists, which honestly is a sentiment we hear a lot, both from patients and caregivers.
Yeah, and that skepticism is understandable. Current treatments for Alzheimer's, they primarily focus on managing symptoms, but they haven't been very successful in halting or reversing the progression of the disease. And this leaves many feeling frustrated and disillusioned with the conventional medical approach.
In subject 3, they offered a different perspective,
Yeah.
emphasizing the importance of detoxifying the body and addressing psychological factors as key components of treatment. It's a more holistic approach that takes into account the interconnectedness of mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah, that's a key takeaway from these sessions. It's not just about treating the physical symptoms. We need to address the emotional and energetic aspects as well.
So what would that look like in practice? Did they offer any specific recommendations?
Well, they all emphasize the importance of dietary changes.
Yeah.
To reduce toxin exposure and promote natural detoxification. They talk about, minimizing processed foods, artificial ingredients, and environmental pollutants, and focusing on nutrient-rich whole foods that support the body's, natural cleansing processes.
Like giving your body the tools it needs to heal and repair itself,
Yeah.
from the inside out.
Right. And it goes beyond just diet. They also talked about the importance of addressing emotional baggage, resolving past traumas and finding ways to release deeply held fears and anxieties.
This ties in with subject 3's emphasis on psychological factors. The idea that our emotional well-being plays a huge role in our overall health.
Exactly. Subject 1 also spoke about the power of forgiveness, both forgiving ourselves and others as a way to release energetic blockages that can hinder healing. They believe that holding on to resentment and anger, it can actually contribute to the progression of the disease.
It's a powerful message about the importance of letting go of past hurts and embracing compassion and understanding.
Yeah.
Both for ourselves and others.
It's about choosing compassion over bitterness, understanding over judgment. It's a powerful act of self-care that can ripple out and create more peace and harmony in the world around us.
Subject 2, they offered a slightly different approach, focusing on the importance of finding meaning and purpose in life, even in the face of cognitive decline. They suggested that cultivating a sense of connection to something larger than oneself, whether it's spirituality, nature, community, or creative expression, that can help individuals navigate the challenges of Alzheimer's with greater grace and acceptance.
It's a beautiful message of hope and empowerment. Even when faced with a debilitating illness, we can still find ways to live a meaningful and fulfilling life.
Absolutely, and this brings us to one of the most intriguing aspects of these hypnotic sessions, the possibility of reversing the effects of Alzheimer's. It's a question that's on everyone's mind, and while these sessions don't offer a definitive answer, they do provide some intriguing clues.
They do.
Subject 2 in particular talked about the body's innate ability to heal itself. They suggested that if we can create the right conditions both internally and externally, the body might be able to repair the damage and restore cognitive function.
It's a glimmer of hope in what often feels like a hopeless situation. And while we have to be cautious about interpreting these insights as magical fact, they do offer a valuable reminder that the body possesses incredible healing capabilities.
Absolutely. And subject 3 even described, witnessing cases of spontaneous remission in their hypnotic state, individuals who seemingly defied the odds and recovered from Alzheimer's.
Now, this is where we have to be especially careful because we don't have any scientific evidence to support these claims, but their observations, they do raise some interesting questions about the potential for healing that might exist beyond our current understanding.
It's a reminder that there's still so much we don't know about the brain and its capacity for recovery, and that perhaps we shouldn't underestimate the power of the human spirit to heal and overcome even the most challenging of circumstances.
Exactly. And this leads us to one of the most profound and thought-provoking themes that emerged from these hypnotic sessions, the idea that Alzheimer's in a way could be seen as a catalyst for spiritual growth.
That's a challenging concept to wrap our heads around, given the devastating effects of the disease. But I'm curious to hear more about what these individuals experienced under hypnosis.
Well, subject two described it as a process of stripping away the layers of ego and identity that we often cling to,
Hmm.
revealing the essence of who we truly are beneath the surface. It's as if in losing their cognitive abilities, they were gaining a deeper understanding of their true nature.
It's a beautiful and paradoxical idea, isn't it? That in losing a part of themselves, they were discovering something even more profound.
Yeah. And subject three, they talked about the potential for profound insights and spiritual awakenings to occur in the later stages of Alzheimer's. Even if those experiences are difficult to communicate or understand from an outside perspective. They
Yeah.
suggested that there's a deeper level of awareness and connection that emerges as the ego dissolves.
So it's not about restoring lost memories or clinging to the past. It's about embracing the present moment
Mm.
and finding a deeper meaning in the experience,
Right.
however challenging it may be.
Exactly. These hypnotic insights, they offer a completely different way of looking at Alzheimer's, one that goes beyond the fear and despair that's often associated with the disease. It's a perspective that invites us to see the potential for growth and transformation, even in the face of profound loss.
It's been a truly mind expanding conversation so far. And I'm eager to hear your final thoughts and reflections on what we've learned from these hypnotic sessions.
Me too. There's so much to unpack and consider. We'll delve into those final thoughts and wrap up our deep dive into Alzheimer's after a quick break.
Welcome back to the deep dive. After really diving into these hypnotic sessions, I'm left with this sense of awe at the mysteries of the human mind and just how much we still don't understand about consciousness, especially when we're talking about something as complex as Alzheimer's.
It is humbling, isn't it? These sessions, they really challenge our conventional understanding of the disease, and they offer these kind of radical new perspectives on how we might approach, treatment and prevention.
And I think the biggest question on everyone's mind right now is probably what now? These insights are fascinating, but are they actually useful? Like, how can we take these hypnotic experiences and apply them to our own lives, whether we're, dealing with Alzheimer's ourselves
Yeah.
or simply trying to live healthier, more meaningful lives?
That's the key question, and it's important to remember that these hypnotic sessions, while they offer valuable perspectives, they don't provide a clear-cut roadmap for prevention or treatment. We need to approach these insights with a healthy dose of discernment and critical thinking.
So it's not about, taking everything they said as gospel, but rather using it as a starting point for further exploration and personal reflection.
Exactly. I think, what I find most valuable is that emphasis on holistic well-being. These sessions remind us that our physical, emotional, and energetic states are deeply intertwined, and neglecting one aspect inevitably affects the others.
So what does this mean for our listeners? What are some practical takeaways they can implement in their own lives?
Well, we can start by looking at our lifestyle choices. Those hypnotic sessions, they highlighted the potential impact of toxins on our well-being, both physical toxins like pollutants and processed foods, but also emotional toxins like stress and unresolved trauma.
So reducing our exposure to those harmful elements, nourishing our bodies with nutrient-rich foods and engaging in activities that bring us joy and inner peace could be significant steps toward supporting cognitive health.
Absolutely. It's about creating a lifestyle that nourishes us on all levels, physical, emotional, and energetic.
And subject one talked a lot about the importance of mindfulness and meditation as practices for creating that sense of inner sanctuary, a place
Yeah.
of calm amidst the chaos of the external world.
That resonated with me as well. In our hyper-connected, always-on world, it's so easy to get caught up in that external noise and lose touch with our inner wisdom. Practices like mindfulness and meditation can help us tune back in, cultivate a sense of presence and reduce the overwhelm that can contribute to so many health issues, including cognitive decline.
And subject two, they really emphasize the importance of finding meaning and purpose in life. They suggested that, feeling connected to something larger than ourselves can provide a sense of strength and resilience. that helps us navigate life's challenges, including the challenges of aging and illness.
Yeah, whether it's, through spirituality, nature, community involvement, or creative pursuits, having that sense of purpose, being part of something bigger than ourselves can be incredibly powerful, especially as we age.
And these sessions also really underscored the need for emotional healing. Subject 3 was very clear about the importance of, addressing past traumas and resolving emotional conflicts as part of a holistic approach to well-being.
It's about acknowledging the wounds of the past, giving ourselves permission to grieve and process those experiences, and finding healthy ways to move forward with greater peace and understanding.
And Subject 1's message about forgiveness really struck me. They talked about forgiving ourselves and others as a way to release those energetic blockages that can impede healing.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful reminder that holding on to resentment and anger, it ultimately harms us more than anyone else.
It's about choosing compassion over bitterness, understanding over judgment. It's a powerful act of self-care that can ripple out and create more peace and harmony in the world around us.
Now let's circle back to that question of reversing the effects of Alzheimer's. While these sessions didn't offer any quick fixes or miracle cures, they did offer some hopeful insights. Subject 2 suggested that if we create the right conditions, both internally and externally, the body might have the capacity to heal and restore cognitive function.
It's a reminder that the body has an incredible ability to heal itself given the right support. And while we have to be realistic about the challenges of Alzheimer's, we also shouldn't underestimate the power of the human spirit to find ways to heal and adapt, even in the face of profound adversity.
And Subject 3's observations about spontaneous remission, while anecdotal and needing further exploration, they point to the possibility that there may be more to healing than we currently understand. Perhaps there are pathways to recovery that we're only just beginning to glimpse.
It's a reminder that there's still so much we don't know about the brain, about consciousness, about the mysteries of healing. And it underscores the importance of staying open to new possibilities, of challenging our assumptions, and of continuing to research and explore, all avenues for treatment and prevention.
And I think one of the most profound takeaways from these hypnotic sessions, and perhaps the most challenging to grasp, is this idea that Alzheimer's could be a catalyst for spiritual growth.
It's definitely a radical concept, but Subject 2 described it as a process of stripping away the layers of ego and identity, revealing the essence of who we are beneath the surface. And the Subject 3 talked about the potential for deep spiritual insights and awakenings to occur as the ego dissolves.
So it's not about clinging to the past or trying to regain, what's been lost. It's about embracing the present moment and finding a deeper meaning in the experience, however challenging it may be.
It's about recognizing that even in the face of loss and decline, there's still an opportunity for growth, for transformation, for a deepening connection to our true nature.
It's a profound shift in perspective, isn't it? It asks us to move beyond fear and despair and see the potential for something more.
Yeah.
Something transcendent, even in the face of a disease that's often seen as a descent into darkness.
It's a reminder that life is a journey of constant change, and that even in the face of adversity, there's always an opportunity for growth and evolution.
Well said. This deep dive has been an incredible journey full of surprising insights and thought-provoking questions. What stands out to you? What will you take away from this exploration of Alzheimer's through the lens of the subconscious mind?
I think for me, it's that reminder to approach health and well-being holistically. It's not just about our physical bodies. It's about nurturing our emotional and energetic well-being as well. It's about cultivating resilience, finding meaning and purpose, and staying open to new possibilities, even in the face of challenges.
It's about embracing the present moment, finding beauty in the simple things, and recognizing that even in the face of loss, there's always an opportunity for growth and transformation.
Beautifully said.
This is the deep dive. Signing off for now. We hope this exploration of Alzheimer's has sparked your curiosity and given you some new perspectives to consider.
Until next time, keep those minds open. And remember, there's always more to discover.